Welcome to Under the Greenlight. Today we'd like to welcome Tim Kiernan with 360 Consulting Dfw. Welcome, Tim. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so I'm really super excited to talk to you because we kind of do the same thing, but a little bit different on a different side of the company. So I feel like there's a lot of synergy in the folks that we work with and how we're trying to help them just in a different way.
Right.
So tell us a little bit about what you do and what is 360 Consulting Dfw?
So 360 Consulting Dfw is a group of eight of us, eight partners that work specifically in small to medium-sized companies to help those owners to better their sales through people, process, and technology.
Okay.
So we go in and take a look at what they're having problems with or what they're trying to get changed in their sales structure. And we look through pretty much everything to see how they're laid out, how the salespeople work, how they input information. Are they all kind of lined up equally together as far as sales reps go? So we basically try to improve the sales health of the company and put them more on a growth trajectory.
I love that. And so is there a particular type of industry that you guys lean towards more, or are you just kind of all over the place?
It's all over the place. I'm talking to a company right now that's a nutritional company. They make the actual supplements, and they sell those supplements to, say, pet food manufacturers.
Oh, wow.
Mainly in the farm business.
Okay.
And then another of our clients right now is engaged with a business that sells if you go get the ultrasound.
Ultrasound.
Thank you.
Yes, got it.
Stumbled on
I
that
felt
one.
like we were playing Pictionary. It was good. I got it.
Ultrasound, thank you. But it's for the vet or the veterinarian industry. So they sell those to vet clinics around the country.
Oh, wow.
So, and then we had another client that was basically a glass company that fixed automotive glass as well as other glass, and they wanted to branch off into the more in the corporate side versus just the consumer side. And we worked with them, a couple of the consultants worked with them to kind of change their business model, and then they've been on a very positive track ever since.
That's great. So what got you into this business? What were you doing before you started working with companies to help them with their sales health?
So, I've been in sales at different companies, organizations for longer than I want to admit, but a lot of those are leadership positions. A lot of those are vice president positions, and where I manage a team of people and try to keep them on the right track and make sure that we're on a growth trajectory and we're meeting the expectations of the company. So I've had a lot of experience in managing people, managing processes, and proven to be successful. So about a year or so ago, I was starting to look, and I had taken a little bit of time off, and I wanted to kind of look to see what else was going on, and kind of thought I would like to do something on my own. If there's ever another time, it's probably now. And I caught wind about this organization I mentioned earlier called Sales Acceleration, and got involved with them, talked to them. I really liked the program they had, and basically signed up through them, which obviously licenses us to use them as support and back end for assistance with our clients. And then I joined that, and then the gentleman from 360 Consultant DFW called me and said, why don't you join with us?
Yeah.
And we'll just kind of band together. They explained the way the program worked, and I said, that just makes all the sense in the world.
Makes sense.
We can collaborate on deals together. I've got extra resources I can tap into. We can bring more value, I think, to the client overall than we could have just working on my own and trying to find other resources. So I think it's a win-win for not just for me, but also the clients.
Yeah, absolutely. And sales is arguably maybe one of the most critical, important pieces of any business, because without the sales, there's no revenue, and without the revenue, it's really hard to grow.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
So all of the elements are really important, but you just kind of have to be working together. And so, thinking about your path and how you got here, and you're working with business owners, that you mentioned is kind of your core audience. You really relate to them because they're wearing multiple hats. They're doing all of these different things within any given day, responsible for really every single element of the business. You can definitely relate to that. And so how are you having the conversation with these owners saying, hey, why don't you carve out this piece of your business and let us handle it for you? You mentioned kind of a fractional sales manager, fractional sales executive, to say, soar with your strengths, we got this piece, and we can help you grow. Has that been a difficult conversation? How do you transition into that?
So obviously, the company needs to be aware that they have an issue.
Right.
They may not know what the issue is, and it may be to the point where it's keeping the owner up at night because they've tried everything and they just can't get sales back on track or on track, to meet their expectations. The other thing too is that companies sometimes, especially the privately owned companies, the owners might decide, next 5-10 years, I want to go ahead and sell the company and kind of retire.
Right.
So they got to start planning for kind of an exit strategy. And obviously, as a business owner, if you're going to sell the business you started, you want to get the highest valuation for that business up front as you possibly can. And one of the fastest ways potentially to make that valuation go up is to boost your sales, figure out a way to get your sales to kind of rise. So we would go in, especially if that's what the client's looking for, as an exit strategy, as that sales resource. They may need other resources to come in too, to clean up their books, like a fractional CFO to come in as well. So we look for those kind of events too. If they're looking at an exit strategy, then that's probably a great client for us to go potentially to talk to get their business. The other one, as I mentioned, is just one that they know they're having a sales issue. They don't know what it is, and they are at wit's end, and we can usually go in, and with our proven process, usually by the time we go in and we get out, they're on a very positive track, and it continues up.
That's great.
We also have, it may be something simple like they need to hire 5 more salespeople. In today's world, it's a daunting effort to go through the hiring process, and we can help them and alleviate a lot of that stress for them by just taking that on. If it's a simple process of just bringing on 5 people. So we can go in and figure out, do you have job descriptions written? Do you have comp plans established? A lot of times they don't even have those.
Right.
And that's an undertaking. And we have resources we can bring to the table where I've got templates of, other type relatable jobs that might be close to what they're doing that's got a job description. We can kind of use that as a starting point to create what they need. And then from there, we work with a recruiting company that will guarantee that we find at least 3 qualified candidates within a certain period of time. And then we can help them with the interview process. We can help them with the training process, onboarding, the whole works, and kind of take that off their plate and don't have to weigh them down with that whole process of having to go on and just to hire 5 people.
Yeah.
So it could be something as simple as that, or it could be a combination of all 3.
Yeah, well, it sounds like there really is so much synergy in what we do and what you do, again, on sort of different sides of the equation. And when we work with clients, we're looking at the numbers, we're looking at the KPIs, we're seeing what is driving EBITDA, we're looking at the profit margins. Obviously, revenue is the big piece of it. And then we're also looking at other top line expenses like insurance, COGS. We're looking at taxes. Tax is a big part of what we're doing, whether it's franchise, sales tax. How were they structured? How does that change? And so, when we're having a conversation with clients, we're talking about the big picture, because when you are thinking about trying to sell your company within the next couple of years, every single one of those pieces really does affect your valuation. So it is important that the left hand is talking to the right hand. So do you find yourself having these types of conversations with your clients whenever you're talking about things like trying to sell their business in the next couple of years, and how we can help you with the sales part, but really encourage you to also get another opinion or some sort of an analysis on how are you doing your accounting and your books, because that's really what drives the numbers as well.
Absolutely. That's a great point. We work with a lot of clients that once we've kind of really earned their trust and we're in the door with them, we're working with them a little bit, and they're seeing the process and the progress we are making, they start to open up to us.
Yeah.
And start to say, hey, look, I've really also got a problem in marketing.
Yeah.
Can you guys help us out? Well, we aren't marketing people. So we're great sales and sales leaders. We don't do marketing. We don't do financials. We don't do operations. But we know a lot of people that do a lot of stuff. Basically, Greenlight, a Greenlight tax group. So, it's great to have that relationship with you guys.
Absolutely.
Because I'm in the middle of talking to a client, and they come to me and say, have you guys taken a look at some other your overall cost? Have you analyzed all that, and have you worked with an accounting company or any other company that could really help you in that regard? Because if not, I can probably point you to a partner I know that can come in and work with you on that.
Yeah.
So it's very important for all of us to have kind of a network referral system of other types of folks in the consulting type related business that I could offer up to a client and help them with other aspects of their company that aren't my best suit and really aren't probably going to help them a whole lot the way they really need it.
Absolutely. And one of the things that we tell our clients regularly, it's actually one of my favorite books, Soar with Your Strengths, which basically says, figure out what you're great at and then do it really, really well and make that your focus.
Right.
And if you have weaknesses or things that you're not so great at, then you outsource those pieces, create workarounds, things like that. And so for us, when we are working with these small to medium-sized business owners, which by the way is a huge gap, right?
Oh, yeah.
Anywhere from $1 million to $75
absolutely.
million. It could be 5 employees or 75 employees.
Yep.
But we find that these folks, they start typically with just themselves and then they continue to grow
Right.
year after year, and then they kind of get ahead of themselves and they're growing faster than they can keep up with. And it's like, okay, now it's time for me to go really outsource these pieces of the
Right.
business. Do you find that that's kind of a typical conversation that you're having, saying, hey, keep doing what you're doing, but maybe let somebody else focus on this piece, because at the end of the day, it's going to really help accelerate your business?
Yeah, absolutely. I've talked to a client, prospective client, not too long ago, and we had a very long conversation about what their company does, how they're doing. I told him a little bit about what I do, and then the conversation kind of moved around to where he started telling me what I really, really, really need help with right now is establishing a marketing strategy. He goes, we haven't done anything. We got a website. We haven't been in business for 10 years.
Right.
We got a website that just got updated, but he goes, I don't really understand marketing. His wife, which is also part of the company, she doesn't really understand it either from a strategic standpoint. So I said, I tell you what, let me introduce you to somebody who's more of a strategic, let's say outsourcing of a chief marketing officer, if you're familiar with that title. I said, that's more of a strategic thinking. They're going to come in, look at it from the top down and say, as you establish yourself, you need to have a brand identity and you have to have lead generation, pieces of that. And that's what somebody in that space can do. So I introduced him to somebody I knew in that space, and hopefully that works out for him. And hopefully down the road he'll call me back and say, hey, I need to talk to you now.
Yeah.
If we got that all set up, it's going good. Now I need to expand.
Yeah.
So do you have a hard time convincing clients that they need you? Because
If they're feeling the pain of sales, if they really are feeling that pain, they're receptive. That's the key.
The pain points.
The pain points. If they're suffering and they're under in pain and it's a dumpster fire, if you will, then they're receptive. They're
Right.
completely open at that point.
And I'm sure, like our business, you're probably selling value and ROI. It really and truly is an investment in your own business. It should be looked that way, not as an expense.
Correct.
And so as you're thinking about the service you're providing, I'm sure you're also showing, let me show you the ROI, because we're looking at, human capital and human contribution, and how are we going to be able to elevate the contribution of each one of the folks on your sales team, or maybe create processes and systems that are going to elevate your overall sales. And so at the end of the day, let's really start measuring ROI, which is the way every business owner should really be thinking about any decision they're making when it comes to certain expenses within their business.
Yeah, and the good thing with what we do, because we're focused specifically in the sales arena, the ROI kind of comes with the job, right?
Yeah.
It's not something we have to invent or make up. It's easily there. It's trackable.
Yeah.
It's doable, and you can see it, on paper, kind of for itself, growing and achieving the goals you set. So ROIs are very important, and as you said, they're very, as I just mentioned, they're very easily to track and very easy to kind of show the customer how it's performing against their costs.
Yeah.
Sounds like we need to swap services.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, there's lots of clients that we
help
talk
us.
to who definitely have some, one of the biggest things is recruitment. Maybe not on the sales side so much, but there is folks that are having a lot of trouble
Right.
in that. And then I do know a lot with sales, people don't, I think, understand that there is a certain sort of dynamic about a person that makes them naturally great, or have a higher propensity to be strong in sales, that it's a lot more than just somebody who has a positive attitude and thinks they can do it.
Right.
Because not everybody's a salesperson. I mean, I can tell you my oldest son is not. He's great at a lot of things, but I can tell you if I forced him into sales, he would be like, what? Don't want to do that.
Yep.
So it's not just about getting a warm body, it's about getting the right body.
Yeah, no question. In sales, that's key. Over my years of being in different companies, the thought of having to hire a couple more sales reps was always a daunting thought, because you knew how much time it's going to take away from your day-to-day workflow. And you just kind of, and because of the process you do have to go through. And even once you do all that, and there's all kinds of, in the industry now, they've got all kinds of different tests you can make a person take to kind of figure out, how they fit and what their personality is like, and how that will achieve, how that fits into a sales job, all those kinds of things. But at the end of the day, until that person starts, you don't really know.
Absolutely.
You don't know.
Absolutely.
You can get it about honed in as good as you can, but there's always going to be that small percentage that you won't know it till they get in the job.
Yeah, you won't know until you try it. So thinking about the customers that you work with and all the entrepreneurs that you've worked with throughout your career, what advice would you give these young folks as they're thinking about their career and their future and they want to be business owners? What advice would you give to these guys getting started?
The biggest thing I could probably say is be coachable.
Oh,
Let
love that.
yourself be coachable, because you're going to talk to people, you're going to work with people that know more than you do, whether you want to believe it or not. And everybody has something they can provide you to grow you. It may be a small piece.
Agreed.
In a different area. So always let yourself be coachable and learn as much as you can. I firmly believe, and I told this to my kids as they grew up, you never stop learning. If you
That's
do,
true.
you might as well be dead. Because I never let myself do that, and a lot of people I know and work with, they have the same belief. You don't stop learning.
I totally agree. So thinking about, what you do to sort of decompress, because again, you're kind of in a high intensity type industry. Sales is intense, whether you're coaching someone else or driving somebody else's business, you're feeling the pressure. So what do you do for downtime, and how do you work with your clients and encourage them to maybe take a little break or figure out how to decompress?
Well, as a salesperson goes, and most people who've been in sales might agree with this statement.
Yeah.
Make your number first. Make your number.
Okay.
And then you
Absolutely.
can relax. And that's kind of that's what you're in it for. You're in it for making that number. You're in it for the high end of your potential scale and earning scale, not the low end. And so if you focus on that first and you make that number, then absolutely it's decompression time.
Yeah,
It's
you've got to
absolute
celebrate.
chill time. Absolutely.
You got to celebrate the wins.
You bet. And it's very difficult to kind of have that compartmentalization where you've got home life versus work life. Because in the sales mind world, because this has been the way my mind has worked pretty much most of my career, there's no difference between the two.
Right.
It's all the same.
Oh, I totally agree. Because you're balancing all the time, whether it's the work, your clients, your spouse, your children, and guess what? Your clients are doing the same thing.
Absolutely.
Every single one of them are doing the exact same thing.
Yep. And I used to go on sales club trips. You make this a certain award. You go on a trip. The company pay for it. It's great. And all of us salespeople who are out there on this trip, we've got our, if it's mobile phone era, we got our phones with us.
Right.
We've got our laptops with us.
We're just still working away.
And after a while, I started to say, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
I'm just not. I know I should, and I'll probably pay a little bit of a price when I get home. But I'm here with my family and my work environment in those particular cases. Now, if I go on a trip with my family, I definitely now have finally taught myself how to just turn it off.
I think that's so important.
I'm sure your family appreciates that too.
Believe me, because there's been many trips we were on in the past where I did not turn it off, and I regret those.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I agree, because you can't get those moments back.
You can't.
And it is important. I think it actually helps you be a better business person. It helps you be somebody that can relate more to your clients.
No
and
question.
you're sharpening your sword, all that stuff. It's really important. Okay, so if someone was trying to find you, okay, and they want your services, what is the best way for them to find you? And tell us a little bit about the process that you engage with your clients. Like, how do you get started, and how do you determine?
So, the best way to find us is obviously, go to www.360consultingdfw.com.
Okay.
That's our main page. You can find me and any of the other advisors on that website. And the process when we get started, if we have a client that's interested in understanding more about what we do, we'll schedule at least a 90-minute assessment period.
Okay.
We go in and we may have a conversation about them and us before that.
Okay.
And that, which, to tell them a little bit more and get them associated with what we can do to help. And then once they actually think that we could help them, we do the 90-minute, or it could be longer, but we tell them to schedule 90 minutes. And we sit down with them and we go through a fairly detailed, you can call it discovery, we call it assessment, to figure out where they're at with sales and what's the condition of sales and what does the whole operation of sales look like. And we get that, and you can't capture it all in 90 minutes. It takes longer than that, but that at least gives us a pretty good breadth of scope to understand what parts of the process we need to kind of bring back. And then if the client's got other questions for us or needs more information from us, we get to a point where we'll go back and present to them with a scope of work.
Okay.
This is everything we will do. This is what we will do. We don't do things that are not on the scope of work, but this is what we do. And they'll clearly understand from beginning to end all the pieces we'll do, all the deliverables we'll give, and somewhat of a timeline of when we think those all will happen.
That's great.
We are a little vague on that because as we get started in the process, there could be things that we didn't find, we hadn't found.
Right.
And so we make sure that the customer understands that these are estimates, these are not firm committed timeframes. So, but that way they're very clear on understanding of exactly what it is we're going to do, exactly what we're going to deliver to them as we go through the process, and a good estimate, as best guess we can do, given the circumstances, about how long it'll take.
That's great. That's great. So we want to do like a little bit more of a fun thing now. We kind of want to digress, do something a little more personal.
Okay.
So Melly's going to ask you some questions about some of your favorite things or thoughts, because I think it's cool to kind of see all these different things about people. So let's just dive into some of the layers.
This will be the biggest challenge of the
right?
process.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite book? Or do you have time to read?
Well, he's a learner, so
Yeah.
I'm really anxious for this.
So I've recently gotten into, there's a number of books by this same author. It's a company called EOS. I don't know if you've heard of them. Entrepreneurial Operating System. Very, very famous in the small to medium-sized companies out there. And it is an approach, overall approach on how you run a business, given a certain structure that this gentleman kind of put together. And then he's got specific books about how, what is EOS? It's a very basic book that says,
so how do you spell that?
EOS.
EOS, okay.
Entrepreneurial Operating
EOS,
System.
okay, I'm writing it down.
Absolutely. And in our business, a lot of times we ask clients if they've ever heard of that or looked at it, and we get a few that say they have. But once we talk to them about it and kind of get them to understand how, because we all have read the books, and because it's very, very, very similar to just us and how we look at the sales piece of it. But EOS takes it from a company-wide approach on how you do it. So
those out.
that's a series of books that I'm into. I forget which one I'm reading now, but they're all great, and they're all different parts of how they implement that EOS system within a company. And so that's currently my favorite books right now.
Sounds like you're learning a lot there.
Trying to.
Awesome. So what's your favorite movie?
Favorite movie? I have to say my favorite movie for a long time was Raging Bull, but then Goodfellas came out, and I really liked that one a whole lot more.
Okay.
So those kind of, I was a big Robert De Niro fan early on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but those kind of movies.
Cool. Did you make your bed this morning?
I make my bed every morning.
Are you serious?
I am actually
I love
serious.
that.
You bet.
She does too.
Some people do, and some people
I don't.
don't.
I'm not.
so
I
it's
don't.
fine.
I don't make my bed.
You don't? So I watched something on a video clip. I forget where I saw it, and it was a naval, executive.
I think
admiral,
I saw it.
And he was, I think it was a commencement ceremony. I think. And he said, "I'm going to give you one piece of advice, one piece only: make your bed every day."
Yeah.
He said, "Try it." He said, "What you'll find out is that when you get up in the morning and you make that bed, you're going to find out that the rest of your day will become, you'll get into a habit of just making it flow in an order, and it'll be easier to do." And I think he was right.
I used to not make the bed, so I like it better. And I walk in and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
the bed's made, or look at it. Just the room looks messy.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I know. I saw that speech too, and I think it's really cool, but I still don't make my bed.
That's okay. That's okay.
And if I had to guess, I'd say you're a morning person. Are you a morning or a night person?
You would be absolutely wrong.
Oh, wow.
So I can't work out in the mornings. Never could. I tried it a few times. Could not do it. My wife does work out in the morning. She gets up at 5:30.
Oh,
Wow.
I didn't know
for
there
her.
was a 5:30 in the morning, quite frankly. So, but no, I'm evening. So I usually work out 4:30 to 5 in the afternoon because then I'm wide awake and
Right.
all
It's
the
a
energy
great
back.
time to work
Blood's
out.
flowing.
I love that time. Mm-hmm. Have you ever skydived?
I have not, and I wrestle with whether or not I would ever do it.
Yeah, I did it once, and it was awesome.
I think if I ever did do it, I probably would end up with the same opinion.
And then I was like, oh, I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do it again. And
No.
It's over.
I'm never doing it.
I can't say I would never do it. I don't never say never about anything.
I would
But-
only do it if I was like chasing one of my kids out the plane. That's it.
Obviously, like
Yeah.
in the movies.
Yep.
So if you weren't doing what you're doing now, and you had a choice to be a professional athlete, musician, actor, legendary artist, or the director of the CIA, what would you choose?
I would have my own fishing boat off the coast of Hawaii.
Wow. Is that in the works? Are you planning that?
No,
You should.
but it's
Why
something
not?
I would love to do.
Yeah.
I used to go to Hawaii a lot.
I bet you if you had your own fishing boat off the coast of Hawaii, you could sell a lot of tours. You
Possibly.
You could create an amazing business with that. That's
Possibly.
actually a very big business.
I love scuba diving.
Yeah.
I love the ocean. I grew up around it from being
Well, that's
in
right.
Florida.
You're from Florida.
And then when I got to Hawaii the first time, I said, this is the greatest place on the planet.
Yes.
I saw places go awesome. And so I went back many times, in my younger days. And if we were there was two things that we were going to do while we were there. One was fish, and one was scuba dive.
So are you a good fisherman?
I'm a fisherman.
Oh, well,
I don't know if I
don't know
categorize
how you're
myself
gonna
as
make that a
good.
business,
Well, there you
but-
go. There you go. That's a learning process. If you're going to make
Yeah.
it a business, you got to really dive into it deep.
That's for sure.
And I do it recreationally. I like just enjoy the being out in the water and the whole thing and the challenge
water.
of trying to get the fish and stuff like that. So.
love the water too.
That's
so.
awesome. Well, I really appreciate you coming on our show today. I feel like we really learned a lot, and I want to keep talking to you because I
Yeah.
feel like there is a lot of synergy with what we do.
Oh, no question.
So for all of you guys out there looking for any sort of sales help, whether it's finding executives or recruitment sales training, definitely check out 360 Consulting Dfw. I think these guys could really help you out, and we hope you feel inspired by the show today and just keep learning from your mistakes, and let's celebrate your successes.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.